The Avengers is a team of superheroes from the Marvel Comics that have been around for over 60 years before the MCU existed. Marvel Comics became very popular in the 60s with its popular characters such as Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Captain America, and so many others that we all know and love. Before the Marvel Cinematic Universe and its upcoming movies and shows ever existed, in the swinging 1960s, there have been cartoons adapted from the comic books of Marvel's greatest heroes. Some of these cartoons were beloved, some were seen as okay, but some were not loved as much. With all that said and done, this is the rise and fall of Avengers cartoons. The 1960s, a decade that changed the entire world as it was the era of civil rights marches. The Beatles were very popular with their music, and there was also the moon landing. Though it was not named The Avengers, there was a cartoon show that premiered in 1966 titled The Marvel Superheroes. This cartoon was produced by Grant Trey Lawrence Animation, headed by Grant Simmons, Ray Patterson, and Robert Lawrence. This show had 5 segments, each approximately 7 minutes long, broadcast on local TV stations that aired the show at different times. It was a half-hour program made up of 3 7-minute segments of a single superhero, separated by a short description of one of the 4 heroes. The segments were Captain America, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, the Mighty Thor, and Namor the Submariner. The show had 65 episodes and it aired in syndication, which means that it was not part of one series everywhere, but the channel varied by city. Each day featured a different hero: Captain America on Mondays, Hulk on Tuesdays, Iron Man on Wednesdays, Thor on Thursdays, and Namor on Fridays. Each episode was adapted from different comic book issues from The Avengers, Tales of Suspense, Tales to Astonish, The Incredible Hulk, Journey into Mystery, Fantastic Four, etc. However, many of the Namor episodes were originally made stories. There were many heroes and villains in each episode, such as Ant-Man, the Wasp, Jane Foster, Peggy Carter, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye, Loki, Thunderbolt Ross, Mandarin, Baron Zemo, and so on. Special guest characters in this cartoon were the X-Men and the Avengers. The X-Men original lineup in this cartoon was that of Angel, Beast, Cyclops, Iceman, and Jean Grey, who at the time was known as Marvel Girl. The Marvel superheroes lasted from September to December 1966. In the 1960s, popular Marvel cartoons were Fantastic Four and Spider-Man. Flash forward to the 1990s, the golden era of Marvel cartoons. When you think of Marvel cartoons in the 1990s, you think of these amazing cartoons such as Spider-Man, Spider-Man Unlimited, The Silver Surfer, The Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, The Fantastic Four, and the crown jewel and my most personal favorite of them all, X-Men. A lot of fans like me who grew up watching these cartoons as children remember tuning into the Fox network to watch Fox Kids for one whole reason: the Marvel cartoons. And now we can rewatch them on Disney Plus and show them to our children and nibblings. Back in those days, so many kids fell in love with Marvel Universe watching this amazing cartoons. These cartoons were mostly known for their edgy tone, and of course they had humorous and lighthearted moments as well. And how we could not forget some of the emotional moments of these cartoons. Now, there is one cartoon in that decade that was not so loved by fans of the Marvel Animated Universe. In 1999, there was an Avengers cartoon series titled The Avengers, United They Stand. This cartoon was the final show of the 1990s. Unfortunately, it was not as successful as the shows that preceded it. The cartoon was produced by Avi Arad and consisted of 13 episodes, which originally premiered on October 30th, 1999, and was canceled on February 26, 2000. Ownership of the series was passed to Disney following the closure of Saban Entertainment, which also includes Marvel Productions. The series features a team broadly based on the West Coast Avengers composed of the Wasp, Wonder Man, Tigra, Hawkeye, Scarlet Witch, Falcon, Vision, and their leader, Ant-Man/Giant Man. For undetermined reasons, the Avengers Big Three were not regulars in the series. However, Captain America and Iron Man made only guest appearances in one episode each, but Thor did not appear outside of the opening titles. Production for the series began in 1997 when Roland Poindexter, the supervising executive producer in charge of the animated series at Fox Kids Network, approached two X-Men animated series writers named Robert Ernst Kerr and Marty Eisenberg to develop a proposal for an Avengers cartoon series. At first, the network decided a Captain America series would be more suited to its schedule. Unfortunately, times were tough for Marvel as it went into bankruptcy, ending the development process for all its shows. But Marvel was saved thanks to the 1998 movie Blade. Once Marvel was saved from its financial woes, Poindexter revived the interest in the Avengers project using the Bible series written by Skr and Eisenberg. Because they were already both committed to spearhead Beast Machine's Transformers, the network then approached former X-Men series story editor Eric Lewell and his wife Julia to come on board as story editors for the series. Because X-Men was such an amazing and popular animated series and the story editor of that cartoon were involved in the Avengers cartoon, what could possibly go wrong? The creators of this cartoon decided to emulate the futuristic setting of Batman Beyond to make the Avengers franchise as the series was set in the future. Unfortunately, this cartoon was not very popular and not well liked. It ended up being cancelled after 13 episodes on February 26, 2000. In this cartoon, Scarlet Witch and Wonder Man were imagined as a couple based upon the storyline then running in the Avengers comic in which she resurrects Wonder Man to serve as her protector after an evil sorceress transforms the planet into a medieval world under her control. In the promotional images of the show and the action figures, Hawkeye didn't wear a mask, but in the series and final version of the figure, he wore a mask like the one he wore during the Avengers The Crossing storyline. This cartoon is known to be one of Marvel's most forgotten shows. A memorable yet annoying line often heard in the show, which a lot of people thought it was unnecessary, was Scarlet Witch constantly saying this when she used her powers.
Winds of destiny, change!
Thank God she doesn't say that in the comics nor in the MCU. In the 2000s, Marvel had cartoon shows that were beloved by so many, such as X-Men Evolution, the Spider-Man CGI cartoon centered on the Sam Raimi movies, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Iron Man Armored Adventures, Fantastic Four, World's Greatest Heroes, and Wolverine and the X-Men. Even though DC was popular in the 2000s with Justice League Unlimited, and the OG Teen Titans cartoon, Marvel was truly crushing it with ideas. Although these two Avengers stories are not TV shows, they were two animated movies released on DVD in 2006. They were titled Ultimate Avengers and Ultimate Avengers 2: Rise of the Panther. These two stories are mainly based on the Ultimates comic book series, first published in 2002 with the Ultimates issue number 1. The first movie starts with Captain America in 1945 fighting the Nazis in World War II. After averting a nuclear disaster, he falls into the icy waters of the North Atlantic Ocean and becomes frozen, only to be revived in the 21st century by the American military, who are hoping to recreate the serum in his blood so they can create more super soldiers. However, an alien race named the Chitauri came to Earth to destroy and conquer. Captain America is then recruited by Nick Fury to join with the other Avengers to defeat the Chitauri. The second movie introduces the superhero Black Panther. When his father, King T'Chaka, is killed by Herkleiser, a Chitauri who disguises himself as a Nazi officer, T'Challa becomes the new king of Wakanda and joins with Captain America and the other Avengers to stop the Chitauri and Herkleiser from invading the Earth to enforce order and erase all individuality, which the Chitauri see as an aberration. These movies were phenomenal, and I remember that my cousin had both. In this story, Bucky Barnes never became the Winter Soldier and married the woman who was engaged to Steve Rogers in the past. She tells him to live his life, and then we see that Captain America and Black Widow become a couple. Ant-Man in this story is kind of a jerk, but his wife makes sure to keep him in line. I also like how Bruce Banner is working on a serum not to create more super soldiers, but to control the monster inside. He knows that recreating the super soldier serum that made Captain America will result in severe consequences, because he believes that S.H.I.E.L.D. wants to create more Hulks. The lesson is that when you mess with something you don't even know how to work with, the results will be disastrous and the consequences will be severe. When Bruce becomes a Hulk, he's mad scary and intimidating. I kinda wish that the Russo brothers didn't mess him up in the MCU. Thor, in the second movie, when he sees a dark future, he becomes torn between his duty to Asgard and being humanity's protector. I loved how he teaches the Whale Killers a lesson in the first movie. And his fight against Hulk, oh my god, that was cool. Especially when Hulk lifted Mjolnir. Oh my god, that was awesome! Though T'Challa has become the Black Panther, he makes a choice to work with outsiders and risk bringing them to Wakanda, compromising his position as king and the nation in order to fight against Kaiser and the Chitauri to protect not only their resource known as vibranium, but also the world. There's this scene where Nick Fury tells T'Challa to change the laws and open the borders, which the latter at first refuses but realizes what must be done. Looking back at the scene, this kind of predicted that scene in the 2018 Black Panther movie when Nakia suggested that Wakanda should be helping the world and not hiding from it, and Killmonger believed the same as well, but his methods were wrong. The reason why Wakanda is protective of their borders and resources is not because of the potential danger that vibranium weapons can pose if they fell into the wrong hands, but also because of the potential danger of being exploited by the world's greatest governments such as America, the UK, the European Union, Russia, and China. In 2008, Next Avengers Heroes of Tomorrow premiered, and this story had the children of the Avengers raised by Tony Stark after the world fell into the iron grip of the evil android, Ultron. The children are James Rogers, son of Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff; Torun, daughter of Thor and Sif; Asari, son of T'Challa and Aurora Monroe; Hank Pym Jr., the son of Ant-Man and the Wasp; and finally, there's Francis Barton, the son of Clint Barton. The story takes place in an alternate future where the Avengers were killed by Ultron, so Tony Stark became the caretaker of the children of the Avengers and is the last surviving Avenger next to Vision. I still remember that scene in Ultron's Citadel when the children came to that trophy room. So many heroes who stood up to Ultron were killed. Another last surviving Avenger is the strongest hero there is, and you all know who I'm talking about. Ultron in this movie was created by Tony Stark as a peacekeeping program who became self-aware and believed that the only way to bring order was the eradication of humanity. Coincidentally, in the MCU, Tony Stark and Bruce Banner both created Ultron as a peacekeeping program who also became self-aware and tried to destroy humanity using the Iron Legion. It was a pretty good movie, and I must say I like how these kids learned to work together as a team. Tony Stark being a paternal figure was more interesting to see than just seeing him being a millionaire playboy. Torun's sword is like her father's hammer, Mjolnir, and must prove her worth by fighting for her family and for what remains of humanity. Asari inherited both his parents' powers and abilities was really good, and I gotta say the same about Hank Pym Jr. As for Francis, he inherited his father's amazing archery skills and his arrogance as well. Back in 2008, Josh Fine and several other creators were initially developing a series based on the Hulk. However, it never made it past the scripting stages, with the team instead creating a new series based on the Avengers. This time, it wasn't just any Avengers show, it was something superior and so much better than that cartoon from 1999. What they were talking about was the real deal. Their goal was to create something as epic as the MCU before they could have half of these characters. On August 31st, 2009, Disney purchased Marvel Entertainment for a $4 billion deal. This acquisition included the rights to a vast library of Marvel characters and stories, which included those that form the basis of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it was a major turning point in Marvel's history. Shortly after Disney purchased Marvel, they decided to support this animated series based on the Avengers. On October 20, 2010, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes finally premiered on Disney XD. The show's executive producers include Simon Phillips and Eric S. Roman. Joshua Fine serves as its supervising producer, and Christopher Yost serves as story editor on the show. In this cartoon, Iron Man, Ant-Man, Wasp, Hulk, and Thor were the founding members of the group. Later, Captain America, Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, and Black Panther would join. This cartoon was pretty popular as it went on when it started. The first season started out with the formation of the team in the aftermath of a mass prison breakout. The Avengers fought many supervillains such as Baron Zemo, the Leader, Kang the Conqueror, and Ultron, as well as the criminal organizations AIM and Hydra. It is later revealed that the main antagonist of that season was none other than Loki himself. The second season is where more heroes are introduced and make guest appearances such as Spider-Man, the Fantastic Four, Wolverine, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Falcon, Ms. Marvel, Winter Soldier, etc. And villains such as Doctor Doom, Thunderbolt Ross, Galactus, the Kree, and the Skrulls appear as well. They did something great here, and most of the cartoon was more centered on the comic books rather than the MCU. The episodes were all centered on the comic books, and that's what made the cartoon so great. As for the characters, Tony Stark was a more charismatic character, and also I like how he sounded almost like Robert Downey Jr. He's very intelligent, but he can be very egocentric sometimes. Thor is a hero who is torn between his duty to Asgard and be the protector of humanity. Wasp was funny and charming, but she would often call out the egos of Stark and Thor and that of Ant-Man as well. Captain America served as a moral compass of the team, and what's really cool as well is that they toned down the patriotism part as well. I also like how Black Panther was included as part of the team and how well they made his story when he became not only the new king of Wakanda, but also taking the mantle of the Black Panther after defeating Man-Ape, who killed his father King T'Chaka in a duel. Bruce Banner we see in the beginning wandering to different places so that the government nor S.H.I.E.L.D. would find him. However, he and the Hulk start to coexist, and at least it was not overtly comical. If only the MCU would take some notes and not make him a pancake-eating joke. Still, I liked his rivalry with Ben Grimm, also known as The Thing, when they fought before and during a poker game in Season 2. It was totally hilarious. But they also team up in a battle, and it's amazing. Spider-Man in this cartoon was voiced by Drake Bell, who reprises his role from the cartoon Ultimate Spider-Man. Originally, Josh Keaton was intended to reprise his role as a character since the Spectacular Spider-Man, but unfortunately he was scrapped in favor of Drake Bell. When Disney acquired Marvel, the Spectacular Spider-Man was untimely cancelled. About Spider-Man in this cartoon, he is trying to prove his worth as a hero. What's really cool is that J.K. Simmons voices J. Jonah Jameson in this cartoon. He was like born to play the character since seeing him in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. As for Carol Danvers being named Ms. Marvel in this cartoon, that was originally her superhero name when she was first created back in the 60s. She will become Captain Marvel on July 2012, and the name Ms. Marvel will go to Kamala Khan in 2014. She was also powerful in this cartoon and an amazing character. I also like how Ultron started out as a peacekeeping robot created by Pym due to his obsession with protecting humanity, but then Ultron, much like in the comics, becomes self-aware to a point where he decided to eliminate humanity to bring order. In the comics, Hank Pym did create Ultron and was the Ant-Man. In Season 2, he later passes the mantle of the Ant-Man to Scott Lang and becomes Yellow Jacket. Scott Lang at first stole the suit to steal the money that he needed to help his daughter Cassie, but Pym later passes it on to him, and instead of committing crimes, he starts becoming a hero. At least they take notes from this cartoon when it comes to Scott Lang. The writers took their name to introduce the characters so we can get to know them all step by step, and they did such a very good job with that. Each episode didn't have generic villains, but the ones we knew from the comics and the cartoons that a lot of us grew up with. Earth's Mightiest Heroes is a cartoon that totally deserves a third season. Unfortunately, Disney decided to pull the plug on this cartoon after 2 seasons. Earth's Mightiest Heroes was later replaced by the cartoon Avengers Assemble, which is more in tune with the MCU rather than the comics. Now, Avengers Assemble isn't really that bad, but it lacks the heart and soul of its predecessor. After the success of the Avengers, Disney decided that every Marvel animated show will be more connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe to attract the attention of moviegoers. Bad move. Imagine if Earth's Mightiest Heroes had a third season. We could have had a Civil War story that was more connected to the comics and would have been the best story arc ever told in that cartoon. Disney's biggest mistake is that Marvel cartoons nowadays are more in tune with the MCU and not the comic books, which make these characters so great in the first place. Now, if they can bring back the 90s X-Men cartoon with X-Men 97, they should bring back Earth's Mightiest Heroes. But unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. Avengers Assemble may have its fan base, but it lacks what made Earth's Mightiest Heroes so good. In conclusion, the Avengers may not have had popular cartoons in the beginning, but Earth's Mightiest Heroes made them popular before the MCU premiered that iconic movie in 2012. Let's not also forget that Ultimate Avengers 1 and 2, as well as the next Avengers, were pretty awesome and solid. The chances of an Avengers cartoon being as amazing as Earth's Mightiest Heroes coming back are slim at best. Because if they do make another Avengers cartoon after Avengers Assemble, it's not going to be centered on the comics, but on the MCU. Who knows if the next Avengers cartoon project will center on the comics or the MCU? Only time will tell. And that's it for the rise and fall of Avengers cartoons. This is John of Video Games in the World. Have a good one. Bye bye.